What's up guys, it's Squishy Joshy. Let's talk about the Nintendo Switch 2. So as someone who is all about gaming and creative expression, I just got to weigh in on the absolute mess that is happening right now with Nintendo's latest console offering the Switch 2. And I'm not necessarily saying it's a mess because I perceive it to be a mess. I'm saying it's a mess because of how everyone else is posting their discourse about it. Now, some of you out there are totally for it. You guys love it. You've always been Nintendo fans, and no matter what the price is, you're going to go out and get it. Okay, that's cool for you guys. But I want to focus more on like the shock value of it, especially to the Australian market. So let's get straight to it, guys. If you watched the recent Nintendo Direct, it was all about the new Switch 2, and they really hyped us up with some great stats about the actual console. It can do 120 frames per second now, and they've got a bunch of cool games lined up for it, especially a brand new Mario Kart. But the shock part was towards the end, when we all sort of found out what the price of the console will be. And while it may be slightly more affordable in America, due to the difference in Australian dollar, us Australians are paying the price. Literally, it's going to be roughly $699 for the base console. That's just the console by itself. And I think there's an actual game you have to pay for to learn the ins and outs of the console. That's an additional cost if you want to know all about the console, which is probably not necessary for most people. I think a lot of people just want to get that experience firsthand from Nintendo. But console price aside, if you want to have the new Mario Kart game bundled with it, you're talking like a price of 770 Australian dollars, around there. So everyone's having a laugh, right? The company's having a laugh because they know that they're going to get your money. And just about every creator that reacted to the Nintendo is having a laugh as well, because they're like, oh, this console looks amazing. And then once they saw the price, they were kind of like taken back, just like, still going to get it though. But there's some social media fury around that, and maybe you guys can relate to it. The internet, as you would predict, is absolutely on fire with this news. Aside from the fans that all love it, there are gamers out there who are just completely losing it. And I would just double down on that and say Australian gamers more specifically. As I mentioned, the prices are just almost double for us here. And with that in mind, who can blame these people for reacting in such a way? Even I'm looking at that price and I can't really justify buying it, as much as I would love to have a Switch 2 of my own. So it's not the best look for Nintendo right now. Now, console aside, there's also other things to take into consideration as well. The game prices. Reports say that the games themselves will be upwards of $90 US, which for us, if we're to take international taxes and tariffs into consideration, us Australians are potentially looking at double that price. I mean, I think the Mario Kart game itself, Mario Kart Worlds, is going for about $120, which is a stark difference between what we used to pay for games back in the day. Like a AAA game back in the day used to be like $69. That even included like Pokemon games back in the day for the Game Boy Advance and whatnot, or the Nintendo DS. Like, it was all affordable. It was way more affordable. But now we're looking at facing $120 per game. Now you got to consider the target market as well. For the most part, Nintendo have always been targeting children for their games. Obviously, the adults have grown up with the games, so they're also into it, but it's always for the new gen kids, right? New console targeting the next generation of kids to get them interested in the IP that we love. Now, let's say you're a family in 2025. You've got a partner and a kid, or two kids maybe. What if they wanted to switch to each? What if they wanted the two different versions of Pokemon, right? You've got these crazy prices you have to think about now, whereas before it was okay, like it was slightly more doable. Now the prices have just basically doubled. And let's be honest, in this TikTok age where people don't have the attention spans or the appreciation like they used to, they might just start one of these new games, play it once or twice, and then move on to the next thing. Imagine you get your kid this $120 game, not including Mario Kart, by the way, that has so much replayability. Like, you'll be playing Mario Kart for years. But let's say something like the new Donkey Kong, right? Which is only marketed $10 less than Mario Kart, which with that logic, I probably would have sold Mario Kart for like 130 and then made Donkey Kong like $79 or something, like, because you can have so much more replayability with Mario Kart. But anyways, that's besides the point. Mario Kart is a party game designed for
longevity.
Especially this one's going to be crazy because you can have up to 24 races. The banter is going to be insane. But that in itself is absurd. Each of those 24 people, unless they're sort of doing things locally, are going to be dropping anywhere from between $120 to almost $800 per console/game. And you can just imagine how much Nintendo will make back from that. They know they're going to make bank. But is it fair? Look, I'm a gamer and I would say I earn less yearly income. So the income that I get by the end of the year is considered very low. And I'm just going to say it now, guys, I can't afford this kind of stuff. So if I can't afford it, imagine the average family who will have other costs like food, bills, various needs for their kids, right? I just don't understand how it could be realistic for the average Australian family to be spending so much per game on top of the console. And look, I totally get it, guys. I'm sure there's plenty of fans out there crying about anyone daring to criticize Nintendo and its associates. Yeah, they've put out some amazing stuff. I've always been a Nintendo fan. I grew up with some of the Super Nintendo classics, JRPGs, Animal Crossing, Zelda, Pokemon, Live, Super Mario RPG. I grew up with all that kind of stuff. They're just such vivid and cherished memories of mine. But can nostalgia really justify $120 for a Mario game? It might be slightly more affordable to those in the Northern Hemisphere, but $120? Let's put that figure as US. So imagine someone in the US paying $120 for a Mario game. A game that's primarily targeted for kids. Like at that price, I better be able to hop out of my car and walk into like a nearby town and then find like an Animal Crossing cafe or something. And then there better be like in-game currency where you can purchase a cappuccino with a baby chino on the side and then trade those items with your friends so you can shout them in-game coffees. Like that's the kind of thing I would expect from a $120 Mario game. It's just mainly cuts though. Like you can't get out of the cart. You're just going to be racing the whole time. Like guys, come on. Even if they did have that sort of stuff, it would probably be behind a paywall too. But speaking of paywalls, it kind of feels like the whole Xbox Live Gold thing again, doesn't it? There's going to be key features of the Switch 2 locked behind a paywall. Even certain buttons on the Joy-Cons won't be able to be used unless you're paying to use them. Nintendo's games rarely ever get discounted as well, so you can't just be sitting around and waiting for a discount for these $120 games. You'll probably look like Hugh Jackman's adamantium bones by the time you wait for a Nintendo discount. And on top of that, they want to foster this whole Nintendo ecosystem for streaming and game chat, which again is also paywalled. And I don't know if they're fully grasping the whole idea of streaming, to be honest. It's almost like they want to replace the household PC with a Switch. So instead of like your clunky like CPU cases or whatever, you're going to have a Switch instead, and that's going to be like powering everything. Like I wouldn't be able to run OBS on a screen so small. Like I've got two monitors right now, so I've got two monitors in front of me. I feel like I need a third monitor, so maybe an iPad would be great. But again, that's another cost, something I can't just afford out of nowhere. So you got to think about these sort of things. Like they're trying to market their own kind of version of Discord. They've even got their own Nintendo webcam. Streaming needs to be fast and streamlined. This just feels clunky. You're just attaching all these different things to the Switch. And yeah, to me, it's just a bit weird. Like they want you to actually get these extra accessories for it. Like there's a dedicated Nintendo camera, which basically just looks like a repackaged Logitech QuickCam Orbit from like 20 years ago. And it just feels unnecessary when you can just literally get a capture card and use Discord for free. So like, why are we paying to communicate like this for? Like it feels like we're going back to Skype days. Another feature that they have with the Switch 2 is that they figured out a way to make the Joy-Cons like a mouse. So you would put the Joy-Con on the side and kind of use it like a mouse and then have this way to click. And I'm assuming that's how you would play FPS games on the Switch. But what about the games that require more space and maybe you have like some guests over? What if you don't have all the space to be able to put the Joy-Con down and use it as a mouse? Maybe you have a coffee table in your lounge room, which can fit maybe two people that are kind of like stretching out to move their hands, right? Where are your other friends going to go? Are they going to start using the Joy-Cons on the walls and then like looking at the screen? It just doesn't seem very practical to me. I mean, I don't think we're expected to just have a perfectly flat surface everywhere. It just feels like a gimmick. At that point, you should have just invented like a Nintendo mouse and just either Bluetooth to the mouse directly or plug it in through USB-C. Like with that in mind, I feel like they're trying to do too much with the Nintendo Switch 2. So at that point, they're probably going to re-release it like how they made the OLED version of Switch 1. And then it probably will have like 5 USB-C ports or something to just get all these different attachments into it, because clearly they want to make the Switch 2 more accessible for new streamers. Perhaps they want to have people that are just solely streaming like these Nintendo games or whatever, or games that get released on Nintendo Switch. Like I said, feels like a gimmick, not really a practical feature. And I mean, yeah, look, it's got fancy 4K and whatnot, 120 frames per second. We don't exactly know how hot the device will get from that. Who knows? Maybe when we actually try to play the games in 4K with 120 frames per second, maybe the fan noise is just going maybe it's just really loud. Who knows? Only the people that have gotten their hands like early access to it would know. Even if they've just been playing it 30 minutes or so, who knows how it will still react like maybe an hour into playing it, or maybe playing a more graphic intense game like Cyberpunk, for example. But yeah, I think the main thing that we're just sort of all frustrated about, me especially in Australia, is the price tag. It is kind of ridiculous, especially in this kind of economy. I feel like it's happening at a very wild time as well, where the stock markets are crashing and there's all this talk about tariffs and stuff. I guess one of the other redeeming factors for it is the whole anti-scalping measures that they're doing. That's a positive that I want to at least acknowledge. Nintendo want you to prove that you're a Nintendo fan if you want to get a Nintendo Switch from their store. It's interesting. Like, hopefully we'll stop the scalpers, but it's just so funny the measures that they're going through to do like these almost police background checks to see if you're the right kind of person to be getting your hands on a Nintendo Switch too. But I don't think that really solves anything for like individual retailers as well, who will probably have their own systems in place. So like I said, with everything costing an arm and a leg right now, this price is just unrealistic for Aussies. And it's kind of a huge barrier for some of us that just want to be enjoying our games, especially streamers like myself who want to be able to stream these games. But if they're too expensive, how can we share our reactions with the audience if we can't even get the games to begin with? So anyways, that's my little take on it. What do you guys think? Am I missing something? I mean, like I said, I've always loved Nintendo. I've been playing so many of their games in the past, whether it's, Nintendo themselves or, their associates like Square Enix or whatever. I'd love to know your thoughts down in the comments below. So please do leave a comment and don't forget to smash the like button. And I know we just talked about the pricing of the Nintendo Switch, but I do really want to give back to this community. So if we hit 100,000 subscribers or more, we're going to look at giving away a Nintendo Switch 2 for you guys. Anyways, that's going to be my rant for today. We'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.